and they're going back to the well on that in a way that is updated and modern, but still reminds people, hey, we've been around for a minute and we know how to do this.
Welcome back to Car-Pinionated, our weekly show on cars, the car industry, and driving in general. I'm Doug Stewart, digital executive producer for Fox 61 in Hartford. And with me tonight is Jeff Buchholz from WBBM in Chicago, where he's a writer and editor. Um, so the Germans, Jeff, have been very busy.
Yes.
They decided, not just one, not just two, but three have decided to come up with new design languages and update their look and everything. And they must have gone to a design convention and said, we're boring. Let's move on. Let's do something. So, and half German Glenn Packman, who couldn't be with us tonight, is instructed me that it's Neue Klasse, the way.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Neue Klasse. Got it.
Um, so they have come out with their iX3, their mid-size SUV, with that's an EV, and it's the whole new design language. It follows what they brought out, which is sort of the size of a 3 Series about
Mhm.
maybe a year and a half ago,
Right, the
thereabouts.
concept, yeah.
Right. Um, a lot of those same points. What are you thinking of the new BMW?
So when BMW introduced that new design language, and BMW has become one of these companies that has um, consciously or not sort of become known for design. I mean, it was when they introduced the concept a couple of years ago, the Neue Klasse or the new class, it was a direct refer back to the line of cars introduced in the 1960s that basically saved BMW's bacon
Absolutely, absolutely.
in the early to mid 60s. I mean, they were sort of found, they made the Aceta for heaven's sake. And but then they got it together, drew these incredibly handsome, sharp all-Caron sedans and took off. And we, the language that we know is the 1600 or the 2002. I mean, it just catapulted them. And then, decades later, Chris Bangle shows up, creates a whole new design vocabulary for BMWs, and a lot of those cars have kind of become icons, even though at the time the reception was not great.
Yes,
So the
yes.
fact that BMW now is referring to its new generation of vehicles as the Neue Klasse or new class is not an accident. And indeed, the the details on this design very much represent kind of a return to simplicity. And having seen any number of modern BMWs over the past several years, looking at you, XM, I can honestly say I am thrilled to see this return to simplicity, linear forms, BMWs that look like BMWs, a twin kidney grille that doesn't consume the entire front end. Uh, um, and I'm willing to let go of my feelings about light up grill signatures. I think that, I become old man yells at cloud if I go on about that stuff too long. If the kids like it, it's totally cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, I actually think it's pretty handsome, and to bring it out first for consumer consumption in that size and class of car is incredibly smart on their part. I imagine it will look even. I like it. I imagine it will look even better when it's a four-door sedan if anybody buys those things.
I was absolutely thinking that. There's a lot of slabbiness to the design, but I also thought like, okay, well that will change in time because some of this like what happened with um the Bangle design cars, that also became this kind of, like da 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 problematic sort of thing at first, and then that kind of morphed into something else. Uh,
Yeah.
I I like the interiors. The interiors are so much cleaner.
Hmm.
Um, and the only thing I don't like is the four-spoke steering wheel.
Oh
I,
yeah, that's I don't get what that's about. That's
yeah.
weird.
Um, but at least it's round. So
Yes.
yeah. Um, but because when I was at the thing in May, there was an X3. It was actually the M version of the X3, and it was in red. And like the basics of the car were really nice, but there was all this frosting on it that was
Hmm.
just like, and I'll show a picture here, but it was just, there was a lot there that
Yeah.
kind of took away from the
Hmm.
rest of it.
Agreed.
And the the uh the other thing, and I'm sure you remember these, the BMW films of the uh
Oh, the driver, the Clive Owen films. Sure.
so here's my connection to that. One of the people from the ad firm, and I'm blanking on it, right? The name of the ad firm, who came up with the concept of this, is
Mm-hmm.
somebody I went to high school with.
Oh,
He
wow.
he passed away a long time early on, shortly after, like they had worked on some of these, and he wrote one, and some, he has connections to one of them. But those cars from that era, um, especially the first season of it, that 5 Series, man, is
So
just,
good. It's good. It's just
yeah.
good.
And
And the sevens of that period are favorites of mine,
yeah,
right before the flame surfacing.
right, right.
Those were just clean, terrific cars.
And you mentioned the 2002, which,
Mm.
has to, you need to hermetically seal that car and put it away someplace, because, and you're absolutely right. It was a struggling car company that made tiny little weird cars,
Yeah.
like really weird cars, and these sedans that were, you know, 20 years behind the times.
Hmm.
And it kind of wiped the slate clean. And like, people don't obviously people don't really remember that, but that's not part of the conversation. The conversation is completely changed by that first Neue Klasse, and revamps a company from the get-go,
Yeah.
just changes it
Yeah.
to a degree where, like, you know Mercedes just seems to have this constant, like, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing, this, but BMW had this, like,
Yes.
problematic part of it. Anyway, speaking of, well, let's do this. We're going to go to a break, and we'll come back and talk about the other two German car companies that have decided to go with new looks. All right, we're back. What are you thinking about the new Mercedes designs?
I am so glad that someone at Mercedes decided that people wanted electric cars that looked like Mercedes Benzes. I have watched with equal parts fascination and horror at the EQS line of sedans and SUVs that tried very, very hard to be Tesla only fancy. And it just, and I mean, I'm sure the cars are great, of course, because Mercedes Benzes are great, full stop. The BMW versus Mercedes Benz divide, I am always team Mercedes and will always be. But I just feel like in this sort of moment where we've talked about this on the podcast for sure, how Tesla really changed the conversation about what luxury is
Mm,
in the car space, in across around the world, really. That Mercedes has really struggled with figuring out where it fits into that. And so you get these, technological sensations that are still fine cars, but are just sort of overwhelmed by the stuff, right? Do I really need a full screen in front of the front seat passenger? I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm not that interesting to drive with. I couldn't say. Um, but
There's
I'm
a new
just
episode
I'm
of Love Island on Netflix, and we can watch that. Yeah.
I would sooner hit a light pole. But the but it's just I'm just glad they're designing cars again. Honestly, I mean, just give us a car. You know what? Here's what I want. I want an EV swapped W124. That's really what I want. I think that's what anybody really needs
Yeah.
is, the very best car Mercedes-Benz has ever built with an EV drivetrain. Let's just
Right.
make that happen.
Right.
That's what they should do, but they won't because they're cowards.
Um, we gotta I think it's gonna be like a regular segment on here is calling out the PR people for the
There are there
this
are good ones. There are really good
there
ones,
absolutely
and
are.
and they know who they are.
Right, right. And
But
we
there are lots of bad ones.
yeah, okay. And the one who wrote the line, inspired by rich heritage and designed for the future, the Mercedes is elevating the design language of sensual purity. I, I'm I don't I don't think there's a way to discuss sensual purity without involving HR. Um, I,
Just put the fries in the bag, man. Come on. Just just build the car. Just build the car. I think, I mean, the grill's not my favorite interpretation of the Mercedes-Benz grill, but at least it has one,
right, right,
you know? I mean, I
right,
can think of all of the different ways that this car could be bad, and it's not. It's
right.
a little anodyne from the back, but it's fine.
Mhm. And this one is so it's the GLC with EQ technology. I don't know if that's going to be all the way across the back of the car, but
Lit up.
yeah. And the letters spelling out in, whatever.
Strobing like the turn signals on a Mustang.
Right. Um, so this is what? It's not it's the equivalent to the X3, right? So
Yeah.
it's not quite the midsize, it's the compact.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
C would mean compact, right?
All right. All right. Because I spent far too much time on the Mercedes website this afternoon trying to figure that out. Um, and so the one of the things that they say about the grill, it's a design that's inspired by historical Mercedes models, such as the 1902 Simplex. Um, and interesting, sort of tiny squares in the on that grill back then that were, for the radiator. Um, and God, you were saying about the light up stuff. All I all I continue to see is um that smashing into something, and it's easily $5,000
Yeah.
worth of LEDs that you now have to replace.
Nobody thinks about that anymore, Grandpa. I don't know what to
I
tell you. No one cares.
know.
Nobody cares. It looks cool when you're pulling up to the club, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. Um, I I read years ago there's a book on the development of the 96, would it be 95 or 96 Taurus, the blobular one.
Oh,
And
the 96, yeah.
yeah, and how all these engineers were fighting to put something in the front end. Like there was the headlight people and the, and the intake people and the, this and that and the other thing. And it's only gotten worse, right? Because now you have cameras and you have, radar and sonar, whatever is out there.
Parking sensors. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so I think I think it's probably like just there's so much there. There's so much technology. And you almost I don't know. I mean, I've enjoyed my Honda is the first car that I've had with the automatic cruise control and the lane keeping assist.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Your
So
sort of driver assistance technology.
right,
Sure.
right, which I like and I think is really cool. Okay, but I also think like if when the day that all goes bad, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
doesn't
I
doesn't
mean,
matter how long the engine's going to work if the
yeah.
stereo shimmies all the time because
Hmm.
it has the wrong signal. Anyway.
The the Escape that my husband drives has a lot of that suite of technologies. And about a year ago, year and a half ago, we had replaced the windshield on that car. And the amount of work it took to get the windshield installed to where it would calibrate the lane keeping assist and the radar cruise control thing, like it was kind of a problem.
Yeah.
It was ended up being far more complicated than any of us thought it was going to be. But a lot of that stuff, especially the sort of distance monitoring cruise control, that's nice. That's really, really
Oh, yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
The thing that is difficult in our household is that Sandy doesn't have any of that. So I'll be whipping along if I'm like driving back to Michigan or something, and I'll have the cruise control on, and I'll come up on somebody, and I'm like, oh right, I have to do this.
This is on me. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. 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 And yeah, gone are the days where you could go to work and call up the windshield replacement guy. Yeah, it's in the parking lot.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Hmm.
All right. We're gonna take another break and we'll come back with Audi. Welcome back to Car-Pinionated. So the third of our triumvirate of German cars, I think we're only leaving out VW, right? But anyway, I'm sure they'll redesign everything soon enough anyway. Um, is Audi, and they came out with the Concept C, okay, which I of the three of these vehicles that we're talking about, it's the one I like the most.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
and I've said this before, like, this thing is going to be a Targa. You put the top down and stuff, and then you can see everything. You can't see out the back. Like, what is wrong with seeing out of the back of a car?
Yeah, I guess nobody does that anymore either. That's
Right.
weird, right? Yeah.
Um,
I will say that some of the surfacing on the Concept C, I agree with you. It's the best looking of these three.
mhm,
Um, it is probably the biggest flight of fancy as well.
probably.
Um, but it is the best looking. I will say that a lot of the surfacing gives me Jaguar Concept Zero.
Hmm.
The
Yep.
It's super slab sided a little bit. I think perhaps it's just I mean maybe it's not showing up in pictures all that well, but I get a very squared off kind of thing from it, while also recalling a lot of really great Audi designs like the old Auto Union cars from the 30s, the original TT, which was
Mhm.
a masterpiece, and even a little bit of the R8, which was a super cool car. And I'm not a big supercar guy, but that was really cool.
Mhm.
But yeah, there are just some details here that feel super squared off and closed in that I don't. I suppose that's where we are now, but I wish that it was a little. more exuberant.
Mhm.
I don't mean to get all design schooly here, but like it doesn't feel joyful. It doesn't feel light to me. It feels heavy.
Okay. I don't know how long it's going to stay up there, but right here is the original Golf.
Talk about the definition of exuberant design. What a cheerful, happy little car the original Golf was.
But I agree with you that it's very slab sided. I would like it if they took another run at the front end. The
Mhm.
back end, okay, by the time it comes to the street version, probably is going to be a little bit better. I don't like the grill. It looks too much like a T with the headlights. I don't like it. I
It gives me um cut rate Bugatti a little bit,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yeah, yeah,
which I mean, given that company's present ownership, I suppose makes sense.
right. Well, didn't they sell off Bugatti?
Did they?
I think so. I
Oh well.
Yeah, but yeah, when they sold them off, all those people came over to well,
Well,
we're
yeah.
to keep my pension,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Um, and I'd like to see it in other colors because I don't. The silver had this, it showed off the curves and the design, and
Hmm.
that's the thing. Like the sides and the top, when you look at that, it has a flow to it. It's not
Hmm.
as um, severe as
I
the
would agree.
front and rear end. And I think there just needs to be a little bit more. The front, the rear, and the middle need to all talk to each other better.
Hmm.
It
This is an interesting thought. So you said that, and I don't disagree with you, that we don't think silver's a great color for sort of showing off what this is. What would a good color for this car be? What should the hero color be?
I always feel you can't go wrong with the jewel tones. So
Yes,
a
I would agree.
ruby red,
Hmm.
an emerald green, or a
Mm,
sapphire blue.
yeah.
Uh, and I think that those would just really, you know, it would it just immediately says this is rich. This
Hmm.
has style, this is depth.
Yeah.
And we're acculturated to that in
Yeah.
Western culture, seeing those,
Yeah.
making that connection between those colors and that thing.
And
Uh
I would argue too that this is a car I don't think, well, I mean, who knows, because it'll probably get this treatment. I'm not sure this car will work well with a satin paint treatment.
no, no, I think you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right. And frankly, it's best that the satin paint treatments die, in my opinion.
It's had a good run, right? Like
Yeah,
it's been a good 10 years, right? I
at
mean,
least
it's
if
been
not
around long enough that, every yokel is spray painting their Charger flat black now, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. Just, but good on them. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, they're all sort of at different stages of this. The Mercedes has one of these out. The BMW, it's coming out, but we've seen we had a lot of time to spend looking at the original concept, and the Audi is just sort of just coming to the stage. So
And all three of them, this is interesting. All three of them are trading very heavily on what the former Volkswagen and Ford design chief Jane O'Period Mays would call heritage design.
yeah,
If you think about, the Neue Klasse from BMW, this new Mercedes Benz with this grille that is referenced back to, the sort of pre-war days of Mercedes Benz, which is probably extremely pre-war, is probably best for Mercedes Benz, really. An Audi with this car that looks very much like a modern interpretation of those great auto union cars from the 30s. It is possible that these three companies have figured out the thing that they have that Tesla doesn't have. which is
Oh, that's great. That's a great point. Yeah,
they have history, they
right.
have heritage, they have a a library full of design cues and memories and people around the world who remember the first time they saw this particular car.
Mhm.
And they're going back to the well on that in a way that is updated and modern, but still reminds people, hey, we've been around for a minute and we
Mhm.
know how to do this. In
Mhm.
that way, I think it's with some quibbles about detail aside, I think that's pretty canny,
Mhm.
especially as designs are locked in years in advance, right? So it's impossible for the current feeling about Tesla overseas over the past 12 months to have already filtered its way into designs. But at a time like this, it's actually really canny of them to do this and very smart.
Mhm. Yeah. And that's kind of the thing that I've been thinking about with uh the upheaval in the car industry is how, you know, we kind of ding uh American corporations as being very short term,
Hmm?
very, very like 3 months, quarter, you know, fiscal year and stuff like that. But cars manufacturers can't be that.
Right.
They have to think, easily at least ten years out and kind of backtrack from there. And which is why the impact of the tariffs has been so enormous that it's the sea change where they're like a lot of businesses are hoping for just kind of this continue. We know what we had, we know what
Yep.
we can expect some change, but it's incremental, um, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah.
All right. That'll bring to us to a close for this episode. Want to shout out the fine folks at WVEC 13 News Now in Hampton Roads, the beautiful Virginia Beach, Norfolk area. GRZ, WGRZ in Buffalo, and Fox 43 in Harrisburg. Remember that you can see previous episodes of Car-Pinionated. I almost forgot the name of the show there. Uh, that would be bad. Previous episodes of Car-Pinionated on YouTube. We have a playlist there, and you can find that. Glenn will be back in the future. And with that, we will bid you a fond farewell.